Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the House of Common show. We are so glad that you have been wanting to come and hang out with us. If you are a fan of the show, do us a favor, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can search for it by going by the House of Common show. Make sure when you find us, then go and subscribe to the channel, like every single video that you watch, and then also leave a comment in our comment section, so we love to be able to interact with you, and then share the video with somebody else on all your social platforms. If you are a listener to our show, make sure to go on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave a 5-star review, and then after doing so, leave a comment on wherever you download your podcast so we can, again, interact with you so we can grow in the rankings. Are you a social media person? You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. Again, search words House of Common Show. Before we get into our segment, shout outs to the homie Calvin Forbes, who is home from Alberta back in
Let's go.
Calvin Forbes is back. The Corleone God is back in the building.
Where's the club?
We are so happy to have him back home. Shouts to O'Shea. O'Shea can't be with us on this episode. We're going to catch him back on our next one. And also, did you know that Adam Hoskins played basketball from ages 1 all the way to yesterday afternoon? He's a basketball phenom. It is summertime, and normally in the summertime, we would be spending a lot of money in movie theaters because that's when all the big summer blockbuster movies come out. Obviously, because of what we're watching, when you're watching this video right now, we are still under lockdown for COVID, and movie theaters have not been open yet. So what we wanted to do was talk about our favorite movie series among ourselves, and even before we were recording, we got into big arguments over what should and should not be on our list. And so we're going to play a game that we've done before called Pick Some, Leave Some. And so I'm going to read out a list of movie series, movie trilogies, and we are going to pick our top 3, and we are going to ditch the rest. That means that in our universe, those movies would cease to exist forever. Now, you're going to say, what about my movie series? Here's my suggestion. Create a YouTube channel and then add your series to those shows. In the meantime, you're going to hear the list of movies that we enjoy. If yours is in there, let us know in the comments why we should move one of our movies out and add one of your picks in. Sounds good? So, gentlemen, my friends, here is a list that we have whittled down out of the list that was originally created.
And then extended.
And then expanded because no one cares about feelings on this show anymore.
Improved. I think we should use the word improved.
Yeah, I think the verbiage wasn't the greatest, Chase. We were just trying to improve the list.
Improve the list.
Chase, we just want what's best for the group, you know?
Version 2 of the list.
It's for the culture, Chase. It's for the audience. For the neighborhood.
Guys, so very much.
We love you, Chase. We love you, Chase.
What's the list?
Yeah, what's the list?
Andrew is our dad, but Stacey is like our cool stepdad. We don't respect him, but we love him.
You did not say that.
Gotta be called by the first name. Yeah, Chris. Yo.
That is so
Trigger warning.
Trigger warning.
Murder.
The lists are first the Jason Bourne films. Second on the list is the Dark Knight trilogy. Third is all the James Bond movies. Fourth is the middle 3 Star Wars films. That's episodes 4, 5, and 6, specifically because those are the only ones that everybody can say they actually really enjoy. There's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There are the Matrix films, Fast and Furious, the Godfather trilogy, Back to the Future, the Toy Story films, Indiana Jones, the Terminator films, Spider-Man from Sony, not to be connected with the Spider-Mans from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the Mission Impossible films. Gentlemen, I'm going to go Calvin, Kareem, Stefan, Bart, Adam, Andrew, Jason, Tim. You have to pick 3 out of that list. Which are your 3 that you are going to say, I'm going to keep and ditch the rest forever? Calvin, go.
Godfather number 1, Dark Knight trilogy number 2, Bourne number 3, special mention, Daniel Craig's Bonds.
Wow, you're not too far from me. Godfather is number 1. Please don't judge me. The one that I would say is different would be the Mission Possible is the one that I would do instead of Bourne. It was tough for me between Mission Possible and Bourne. I just feel like Mission Possible had really great storylines. Bourne, probably the best just non-stop action, but I'm gonna go with Mission Impossible and then the Dark Knight trilogy. I think the Dark Knight was one of the greatest movies ever done.
Stefan.
So I'm gonna go with the Dark Knight trilogy one. I'm going with the. Oh, this is gonna be tough because I gotta cut somebody I really love, but I'm gonna go with the Fast and Furious movies.
What?
Yeah,
guys, it's about family. It's about family.
That's
It's
right.
about family. It's the original.
You're not my dad.
Original
I'm
small.
going.
Now I'm gonna jump this submarine.
I've got
I'm gonna grab this rocket with my hand and then swing it out of my car.
From the 160th floor. It's
All
all
right,
about my family.
Let the man finish.
allow me to explain. The last 3 or 4 movies have been, just pure action nonstop. It's been really good. The Rock has really rebooted that franchise, I guess is the best word. And then because I love him, I'm gonna go with James Bond at number 3. I think Sean Connery is the best James Bond. There is no doubt. There is no question. And how can you hate on Commander Bond like that? So there it is. Dark Knight, Fast and Furious, James Bond.
Bart.
Yo, I'm gonna keep it real simple. Number 1 is gonna be The Dark Knight. Number 2 is gonna be The Bourne, and number 3 is gonna be Toy Story. Shout out to all the others that are missing, but if I had to watch only these movies, this is gonna be the one that are gonna be in there.
Whose turn is it? My turn.
Your turn, Hosky.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Godfather 1. It single-handedly it took character development to a new level in trilogies and actually catapulted the trilogy movement in film. And so Godfather. The second one's for me is gonna be Dark Knight. Cinematic story. You have a story of Batman, but you have a cinematography of a very real person, and just the way that Christopher Nolan plays with light and shadow and story, and it's incredible how he does it. I don't think anyone else could have done it like him. And then Toy Story. Toy Story kickstarted the Pixar animation studios, and this is the reason why we as adults enjoy children's movies. It's because of Toy Story and where they took things. Special mention to Bourne, as Bourne actually changed. Bourne, if you notice now, action movies are completely different because of the camera angles in Bourne, in which case the camera operator is now moving with the action, and you now see that in movies. That was first authored in Bourne. So, special mention there.
I'm going to go Dark Knight 1. I'm going to go Bourne 2. And going to go Marvel 3. Marvel Cinematic Universe. And like Adam did, special mention to Matrix, because Matrix changed a lot of things in the film world too. So I had to give him that.
Adam wants to say something real bad.
Oh no, I don't know. I just love the Matrix as well.
But do you love the Matrix, the trilogy, or do you love the Matrix, the first film, because the other ones were so suspect?
They were all good.
They were all good. What are you talking about, suspect?
No, the first one, no, they weren't all good. They weren't all good.
The third one
did
was
die
like,
out. You're right.
I wanted the third one to be back in, like, once you start, it's like you're just flying around and things like that, and like it actually looked more fake. I recognize they're films, right? But like, there was a realism to when Trinity jumps at the beginning of the Matrix and then the camera goes around her. Like, I remember seeing that in theater and everybody going like, what are we watching right now?
Yeah.
The entire
You've
theater
never
freaked
seen
out.
anything like that before.
Right.
Right? Like, by the time you get to the third one, it's like all these guys just kind of walking around in gigantic machines. It's kind of like,
Right.
So,
Yeah,
And
and
John Wick was a bad man.
John Wick.
John Wick could have been
John
there.
Wick. See, we were trying to improve the list, Chase, and you didn't allow us. That's all right. It's all good.
I was
We
gone.
love you. We love you, Uncle Chase.
Uncle
Chris.
Let me say this. I was
Sorry,
gone
no,
on
just
camera
Chris.
for
Your mom's
7
friend.
minutes, and none of you got the things that were written down on this list that you don't know about.
You're not my dad.
Honorable mention to the Friday trilogy.
Chris.
Bookie, rest in peace.
Oh, somebody
who's
mute
next?
Stefan
Who's
before.
All right, Jonesy, finish up.
No, I did my 3.
Your three? Okay.
Dark Knight,
no.
Bourne, and Marvel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's next? Who's
Jason,
next, Chris?
Jason.
Yeah, so going to the movies, I would say probably Fast and Furious, and this is only because I'm looking at the ones that I like the most right now, because there's a lot of great trilogies on here. So I would say Fast and Furious. I'm not giving an order. Then next one on the list would be Dark Knight, just because there was so much. I remember, I can't remember the Dark Knight itself. There was just so many. The movie 3 hours long. When I first watched, I'm like, okay, this is going to happen. Like the writing was just amazing. Every 20 minutes, it just changed and switched up. And then last but not least, the original, the OG Star Wars, because none of the action movies, most of them we have today, none of them would even be the way unless, Lucas came up and, developed how special effects and things were like that in the 80s. I remember watching Star Wars as a kid in the 80s, never saw a movie like that using those type of special effects that we see nowadays. And Lucasfilms just kind of took it to a whole nother level. So all great films, all great trilogies. So that's my top three.
And Timothy is on mute, so I will go, and then maybe he's still muted. Are you seriously saying Hunger? So Andrew wrote Hunger Games.
Never seen it.
Never seen it either.
Divergent. Divergent was better than Hunger Games.
I haven't seen half the movies on this list, by the way. I feel really bad. I got
all
work
right.
to do,
So
I don't like Toy Story.
My list is very similar to my friends.
Runner.
So the Bourne films. I think the Bourne Ultimatum is probably one of my favorite sort of series enders of all time.
But if he came back, Chase, how do you feel about
We
that?
came back in Jason Bourne.
Fair.
Came back in Jason Bourne. But like that, like the Bourne Ultimatum, like that, like the film from look what they make you give, and then just jumping into the water and then him swimming away, like that was like.
The soundtrack was amazing. Amazing soundtrack. I've always wanted to punch somebody in the throat with the book.
Yeah. The fact that he would beat people up with magazines and then like and a pen and things like that, like he was just he was a bad man. My son, my 8-year-old son and I, we just watched the Dark Knight trilogy. He watched all 3 of them for the first time, and watching him just kind of like marvel at like how Scarecrow shows up in all 3 movies and how smartly they have him show up in all 3, which is very much like a comic book, like how like the villains show up in different spots. I love Bane. I think like the fight scene between Batman and Bane under Wayne Tower, and just how Bane just kind of bodies him so hard and just kind of laughs it all off.
Yeah,
we are the League of Shadows. Like it's fantastic.
Or when Batman turns out the light and goes, "You think darkness is your ally?"
Yeah.
Yo, can you do a whole episode with that voice, bro?
What kind of man? What kind of man?
He's not a man.
and Batman and you realize and you forget like Batman's older, right? And so you can see him moving slower, and just his breathing and everything. And Bane's just kind of like, I'm just gonna body you.
Crushed him.
I'm just gonna body you.
I was made in the darkness.
Only inhabited. Yes.
I was blinding. And then my
that was horrible, bro.
Uncle Ruckus over here.
Uncle Ruckus.
Wow.
You're not my dad.
My
Called this man Uncle Ruckus. Like
my third one, I actually is I'm gonna agree with Andrew. I want to go Godfather because I think that the journey of Michael Corleone, from like the Michael Corleone journey, is the original Breaking Bad. The original Breaking Bad.
I've only ever seen the first one, yo.
The original Mr. Chips to Scarface is Michael Corleone going from like, I'm here from the war, I don't want to be part of my father's business, and then slowly just like it was always inside you the entire time, and then it coming out like. But I
it would be legitimate.
You
5
see,
years.
you mean do you mean you agree with me or with Andrew? Did Andrew say on the?
No, Andrew. I'm tossing between the MCU. And Godfather. That's where I think, and right now where I stand.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go Godfather. I want to go Marvel because just this sprawling 10-year story, but Sonny and Fredo.
No.
And just
I can do things.
and the scope of the story. Even though Godfather 3, if Godfather 3 didn't have Godfather 1 and 2 in front of it, Godfather 3 would be a masterpiece of a film. It's just that it had so much to live up to because of Godfather 1,
super
and
underrated.
2.
Yeah,
It's super underrated.
But
my honorable mention would be the MCU, because just the sprawling, the 10-year story, the plan that was put in motion with Iron Man, and that was kind of concluded with Far From Home, the genius of these 10 things and the adding in of characters here and there, and they only got better as they went along. Like Phase 3, from Civil War to Infinity War, was like magnifique.
I have a hard time with Marvel because there's too many character replacements at the beginning.
I have a hard
like between Edward Furlong and Mark Ruffalo. Like it's really the only real one.
Well, I mean,
no, you have Rhodey.
But nobody even remembers that.
Howard into Don Cheadle.
Oh yeah.
It was so jarring at the very beginning.
He should have. What was the name of the guy who was in before Don Cheadle?
It was Payback for Aunt Viv.
Terrence Howard.
Yeah, Terrence Howard.
Man. Listen. He should have been. Listen, mine.
Also, he was a punk in Four Brothers, which is a super underrated great movie.
That's a
Guys,
great
I have a question.
Tony Stark, man.
It's a really good movie.
Tony Stark, man.
Yeah, those
are my three. My honorable mention is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but yeah, like Bourne, Dark Knight, and The Godfather. Just again, Michael Corleone is one of the greatest stories, and how everything kind of weaves. Like him fighting with Kay at the end of part 2, him telling Kay this one time I'll let you ask me about my affairs, and him hanging on the table, enough. You're like, oof.
Yo,
got some work to do. I haven't seen half of these movies.
You know what's crazy about the Godfather? I mean, if I had to pick one, it'd be The Godfather, because you actually see, you see the corruption, and I think this is you see the corruption of Michael Corleone, to where he's shielded from the family, and then he gets slowly brought into it out of force of nature because of what's happening to the family. But you also see this this cleaving to morality, and you see the morality over the course of the film deteriorate. And I think that's the part that actually that we really empathize with, is that as life kind of gets harder for us and stuff, we see these things where there's this tension, right, between our morality and the things that we want to do and we want to hold to, and we want to say that yes, this is what I'm going to be integral to. But then where life comes in, it's oh man, it's amazing how that entire series just kind of plays out, and by the end of it, in a sense, the viewer is corrupted is corrupted like Michael Corleone. You know what I mean? The viewer is left saying yeah, I mean, he's a bad guy, but he's still Michael, and it's justifiable. And it's what the frig? What am I?
Yeah, but even Pops, the evolution of Pops, and him trying to aspire to that level of corruption, but not being as good at it. Mm-hmm. It's a weird dichotomy. I love the tension.
The thing is, and the way the way this list is I would watch, if somebody said, "Hey, you want to watch the Bourne trilogy with me right now?" I would watch them immediately. If they're on TV,
yep,
I'm watching them right away. If I see the Dark Knight, I'm watching this from doesn't matter where I'm catching it from. I'm watching it. Dark Knight Rises, even Batman Begins, which is underrated. I'm
very
watching
underrated.
That's the best movie out of the trilogy.
No, it's not. Chill out.
Okay.
You've gone mad.
That is the best
Stay
movie out
off
of the
the
trilogy.
weed.
That is the best
Stay
movie out of the
off
trilogy,
the
guys.
weed, Stefan.
That's a bit much.
That's the best movie out
I
of
know
the
you're rocking a
trilogy.
Dewey.
Guys.
I know you're trying to be gangster with your do-rag, and you want to
Weebay.
with it.
Come on, Weebay.
Okay, relax. Relax. Okay. Okay.
He's taking off the do-rag, guys. We better calm down.
Man is wavy right now.
I think. Go ahead, Adam.
No, I really want to hear why Stefan thinks this is the best one. I know Tim still has to have a take at this, and we want
to let Tim have this take.
No, you gotta answer now. You gotta answer now.
You open up a can.
I think
Answer now.
I think what we see in the last one, Dark Knight Rises. Dark Knight Rises, yeah. I think it kind of was a little long. Just a little, I feel like it ran just maybe 5-6 minutes long. Just 5-6 minutes long. The second one was beautiful, but you didn't know what to expect going into the first one. Christian Bale is the perfect Batman that like they struggled to replace him. The movie is perfect. It blends the original stories really well together. You get the backstory. You have the perfect villain in Ra's al Ghul. Like everything about it is perfectly cast. You see a young guys, like I'm telling you, go back and watch it.
It's good. It is good.
I just watched it like
it's really good.
I watched like 2 weeks ago. It is a really good film.
It is really good.
All three are great standalone.
It's really good, but Dark Knight is by far the best one.
By far.
That's what I'm saying.
It's one of the
Not even close.
ever.
Dark Knight is like the most perfect film ever. Like I don't. Like I can watch that over and over and over again, and I know what's happening, but still, I'm like in it.
And like, here's the thing about Dark Knight: the Dark Knight was so good that it changed how the Oscars then began to do their Best Picture, because people were like, it is morally reprehensible that it was not nominated for Best Picture because it's a comic book movie. If there's no Dark Knight, Black Panther doesn't get nominated for Best Picture.
Wow.
That's telling you, like that was
True
the
story.
Stage.
Let me explain on the Dark Knight, man, and why it was actually genius is because
Adam's gonna pontificate on us.
Like remember, here's the thing, right? Is that like the actor as a protagonist is like when there's so much attention to detail in terms of the actor as a protagonist. So of course, Christian Bale as Batman and whatnot, you can make fun of his voice and all that kind of stuff, but in terms of him as Batman is great. It's the reason why the Dark Knight was the best is because the villainy of it and the acting of Heath Ledger combined with the character of the Joker was so neatly intertwined with one another that it was like, that's a believable, like the Joker is actually a believable villain, right? Like it's difficult to imagine somebody with an aerosol can going around spraying, people with like a psychotic.
Whoa! Have you been in the city of Toronto lately? Trust me, I see it all, bro. I can believe that.
What I'm saying though is that like the reality of like the Joker is he's so inconceivably evil, but also so innocently evil. Like, and this is the part that's actually the when you look at the villainy of who the Joker is, you realize that like the only saving grace for Batman in that movie was actually the Joker. The only saving grace of why Batman survived that was because the Joker needed an antithesis, right? Needed somebody to juxtapose him, and he chose Batman. Otherwise, Gotham's doomed. And you feel that weight through the acting of Heath Ledger, and you feel that weight through the storytelling and whatnot. And even like, oh man, like you break down the opening scene of when you first meet the Joker, like when he walks into no. The scene after the bank. That's the first, but the scene after the bank when he walks in with all the mob bosses and he show you a trick, and he takes a pencil, he stabs it into the table, bang.
It's
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man muted himself.
But even when he tried to,
so hard he muted himself.
he poked at everybody trying to get. He was trying to get the best out of every single person that was in there, right?
Tim, you haven't got your list yet. So your top three out of this list, what are your three movie series that you are picking, knowing that the other ones out of that list will never, ever, 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 ever be seen again in your lifetime?
Toronto Leaf Tims.
That could mean something else, eh?
Tim, your list, please.
So, I would say for my list, The Matrix.
Wow.
It's like as a series, it's like everyone loves the first one. The first one is that thing that makes it possible for the other two. But I remember, I think it was like a year or two ago, I sat down and watched 2 and 3 again, and I realized how beautiful, how great it was. For any anime heads out here watching it. It's like I was watching and I was like, so this is what it would be like, the fight segments would be like if Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super was real life. And it's something that it's like I just came to appreciate it and enjoy it in a completely different way. Number 2, Toy Story. Toy Story, because I remember when the first Toy Story came out, I was within their target age group, and the very fact that I've been able to journey with it and still be able to go and see it and still find it a beautiful work of cinematography and storytelling, and it's one of those things that it's like there are parents that saw that movie as either an older child or preteen and are now taking their kids to see the last one and going, it's like, oh, it's like, I want to show you the other ones. So that would be Toy Story. And then for number 3, the one that destroys everything else.
Talk.
Oh boy.
Yo, you better come with something strong now.
Oh boy.
Destroys.
He's loading it up. He's loading up.
Is he talking about Toy Story?
You can say Transformers.
It's about to be problematic.
If Tim drops a Friday reference, it's a wrap.
I was saying Ninja Turtles.
And my son just destroyed me from Toy Story, by the way, but that's another story. 3-year-old.
What did you just
Tim
say?
has one more in the chamber.
What is it, Tim? What say you?
So,
Uh-oh.
Just say it.
Don't
it's
hesitate.
Own it. Own it. We
It
believe in
means
you.
you're really not sure.
Yo, if you say Twilight, we're done for the night, eh?
Team Edward, what's up?
Oh my gosh.
Say it, bro. Come on. You're
I would say out of all of them that I enjoy the most, looking at it, I would have to say The Dark Knight, which is no. But it's like this isn't a cop out because it's like I say that knowing then that there is no Jason Bourne, but then also if there is no Jason Bourne, there is no, what was the spin-off Jason Bourne movie that was like
That was Jeremy Renner.
It was called Bourne and Bourne Legacy.
It was Hawkeye before Hawkeye.
There was Bourne Legacy and then there was Bourne.
In fact, Bourne Legacy is why he became Hawkeye.
But it's like I remember watching that and I'm like, I think I fell asleep during that because it was
I did too in the theater.
Long.
I totally did.
it was
where's
too
Jason
long.
Bourne?
And it's like I'm waiting for something to happen and it's just like no. James Bond mainly because it's one of those things like for a lot of people for James Bond, especially the most devout ones are the ones that are just like, oh, it's like Sean Connery as James Bond, amazing, or whatever.
Flame of Tim.
Shut up, Tim.
Get at him, Tim. Tell him, Tim.
Whatever the other Bonds are.
Whatever the other Bonds are.
Roger Moore.
Exactly.
Roger Moore.
Roger Moore.
Maybe Idris Elba. We'll see.
But it's one of those things that it's like
topic.
It just doesn't do it. It's like the middle 3 Star Wars. It's like if the middle 3 Star Wars don't exist, then we are saved from the first 3 Star Wars 1 through 3, and then the fiasco of like the mixed bag of emotions of 7 through 9.
Last
Tim,
Jedi was the best one.
Tim, what is the best?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
movie?
Sorry?
Out of the Dark Knight trilogy, which is the best movie in your opinion?
My
You have to
favorite
think about
is the last one.
Ooh.
Wow. Listen,
Okay.
listen. Dark Knight Rises is a good film.
It is.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I thought it ended.
And
weak.
it's also one of those things that they nail Bane. They do such a good job with him. It's like I was a kid that grew up on the Batman cartoons.
Yeah.
And so it's like to be able to see them
animated series.
Yeah, that was lit.
To be able to see them make do such a good job, at least in my books, on Bane. It's like I know, like there are probably comic book those that are like aficionados. They're out there going, it's like it was a horrible representation of Bane or whatever, but it's like for me it was good. I enjoyed it. And
all right,
yeah.
So I'm gonna ask one more question to the guys, and then we're gonna close the segment off because Andrew, it's getting late. It's Andrew's bedtime. He needs his Ovaltine, and then he's gonna.
He drinks Horlicks. Bet.
Or the Horlicks. He's drinking his Milo.
I just drink water, boys. I just drink water.
Listen. If real ones know what Ovaltine, Milo, and Horlicks are, real ones you're ready to know.
Yes.
There's I had originally made a list, and then the list was usurped from me and added to, and then we had to do a couple of edits because it became problematic. But if you're going to add a movie trilogy to the list that we've made, the list is Bourne, Dark Knight, James Bond, Star Wars, MCU, Matrix, Fast and Furious, Godfather, Back to the Future, Toy Story, Indiana Jones, Terminator, Spider-Man, Mission Impossible. If you're going to add one more series, I'm going to go through all of you guys real quick. If you're going to add one more series to that list in terms of Pantheon, I will watch this regardless, starting with Calvin, ending with Adam. Going around, I'll let you know. So we're going Calvin, Reem, Stefan, Bart, Jason, Tim, Sleepy Jones, and then Adam. What would you add to that list, Calvin? What would you add?
How many oceans are there?
You're serious?
Yeah.
All right.
4 actually. Yeah.
Oh well, if you count Ocean's 8,
the ladies,
there's 4.
yeah.
Does Ocean's 8 count?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
I watch every single one of those. Love them.
Me too. So good.
All right, Reem.
Bad Boys.
Oh, Bad Boys for life.
This
Bad
guy.
Boys for life. Bad
Stefan.
Boys 1, 2, and Bad
Tree.
Boys for life.
And Tree.
Oh man. Come back to. Oh, you can't come back to me. Yeah, 3. Frig. I hate that.
Guy really wanted to say Bad Boys.
I hate the cream. All right, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do the Friday series.
Oh.
All right, Bart.
It's gonna have to be the oceans. Like I can watch that on loop, all day.
He's Andrew just claiming it, and I see you.
All right. Jason.
You know what? I'm with Stefan, man. I definitely gotta go with Friday. I mean, I love comedies all day. Boom, right there.
And you know this, man, Tim.
Right.
I'm gonna have to go with Lord of the Rings.
Oof.
Fellowship of the Rings, The Two Towers, Helm's Deep. Come on, and The Return of the King. A movie where Stefan goes, The Dark Knight was about 5 minutes too long. The final one, The Return of the King.
I know.
like
Had
15 endings.
Different
Yeah.
endings. Yeah.
Down through the DVD where you could end it any time.
Remember DVDs? All right,
Choose your
Jonesy.
adventure.
My turn.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Medea's Family Reunion.
No, Medea's good though.
Is he serious?
This guy's about to hit us with the Left Behind.
I was waiting for you to drop like Revelation, Tribulation Force.
I thought this guy was coming with something. proper.
Hello.
Is it my turn? My turn.
One day we gotta talk about how Tyler Perry in the Medea movies has set black people back a bit.
Hello. All right. Are you going with that for real, Andrew?
Are you going with that for real? Nah,
I don't know what to go with, so I just
you put what you were gonna. You told us what you were gonna say.
I wasn't even gonna say that one. I was
okay.
Foolishness.
No, someone say Die Hard, man. Die Hard should be in
All right.
Andrew's going with
Wasn't Die Hard in the list?
Even Andrew Die Hard.
Adam.
Oh, we took it off.
I'm gonna go with Oceans because
Hey.
you want to talk about management of casts of big names and they're actually acting. that's something that the MCU did not get right, because anytime they had a star power cast, all they were doing was fighting and saying one-liners. But
what do you expect in a superhero movie, man?
Oh, listen.
That's right. What do you expect, fam?
No, but they're not actually acting. All they're doing is they're just literally, you know what I mean? It's one or two people that are actually, and they're just throwing in lines, and it's pure nostalgia. Oceans, there's no action. They're most of the time sitting in a room, and you're just watching greatness act.
Legends.
Is it my turn?
Another honorable mention would be Die Hard.
Yeah.
I agree.
Another honorable mention for me is Rush Hour.
Let Bart speak, man.
All right, Bart, what are you gonna say?
I already said that it was just Oceans.
Yeah, you said it already.
Yeah.
He said Oceans sometime.
I think that Andrew saying Medea is probably the greatest thing that's ever happened at any of our shows. I'm up to the top of that. Listen, while you're sitting at home, locked in due to COVID, or maybe if you after a great afternoon of being outside with your friends, find a great movie, watch it, live tweet it, and just so you know, The Godfather is the greatest trilogy of all time. This has been the House of Common Show.